I requested an audit back when I went to the training in May of this year.
How did you
By letter.
By letter. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that letter that was?
I do. And then I called the Glens Falls office, and Paul was right, they didn't have a record of receiving it. But they also let me know that, so in my letter, just, it was just basically a request for an audit. They recommended that there's a reason, so that basically many new supervisors will just put in a request and you just get added to the pile. So when I talked to them last week, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, they said best to include a reason why we really need an audit. So I haven't put that letter together yet, but I will do it. I can make a copy for the board to see, and I'll submit it.
I mean, reason enough would be the length of time since the last audit, because I think there hasn't been an audit since I've been.
Yeah. And there are some questions about where money went, and there's several good reasons. Any other business?
We were gonna talk about the ethics board.
Yeah.
Ethics board?
Any other business before the ethics board conversation? Okay. Bob, do you have that letter?
I don't.
Okay. What should we do?
Well, you want to have the ethics board convene a session of the board and do what? Just have a meeting that they haven't had in quite a long time?
Yeah. Review our ethics. We submitted our forms.
I mean, I don't even, do you have the current members of the board and their, how many are on it, who are they, and so on?
And
If Virginia been going duty the most and Doug Baffert. Doug is the chairman.
Why don't we just call Doug and see if we can't get him on here at the next meeting?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Should we get Doug here at the next meeting?
I know who they are, and I can get their address out of there.
Before I leave tonight, maybe give me all their names, all their addresses, and phone numbers if they have.
Does Judy have you would have her address, right? I don't know if I have Judy home.
It's up here.
I have all of their numbers. Okay, so the idea before was that you would write a letter just reminding them that they are on the ethics board, and ask them, whether they would continue to serve, and also lay out what the duties are, considering,
Well, the last time I
the
met with
appointment.
them, and this goes back maybe almost 3 years ago, we were just discussing, I think at that point, the main question that came up was disclosure of financial records by the town officers
Okay.
in compliance with their rules and regs, and then we didn't go much farther than that.
Okay.
And they weren't meeting regularly, and I think they only really meet when there's an issue brought to their attention that
They
they
only
need
have
to
to
meet
meet
for.
once a year.
I mean,
I think they have to meet once a year.
Yeah, once a year maybe,
I don't think they've been doing that though.
No.
they haven't even been doing that.
So I'm sure I could find it pretty easily in the town law book, but if you have an emailable version of what the requirements of the board are, would you just send that to me?
Yeah, we can
And
do
I will just forward it along to them and find out what
Well,
they
there
want
was
to
a
do.
local law passed here that set up the ethics, right? The ethics
Oh, so
board.
it's not gonna be in the town law book?
It's not
I
gonna be
mean,
in the town law, but there is
There's significant
a town of
information.
Palatine local
Right.
law which established that.
But doesn't town law also refer to the requirements of ethics boards?
I
And we
haven't
took
looked at
ours
it in a
from
long
there.
time, I
Yeah.
assume it would, but I haven't seen it in front of me.
All right, would you get that local law to me?
Yeah, and Linda has it
I
as well.
have it. I have all
Would you mind? And I'll make sure each one of them gets it.
As I recall our meeting, we did give copies at
Yes.
that time, they did have it, but that's
And we
fine.
get, when we
Yeah,
get
that
our
is part of
disclosure
the,
forms, we
that's
also.
part of the booklet that they get. You should have it.
Yeah,
I have it.
Yeah, that's a local law is on the front
It's
part
right
of
on.
that,
Are you
Sarah.
keeping
Oh, the
track of their
paper book?
terms
The
of?
paper,
Are they
yeah.
on-
Not the state law, the local.
Yeah, well,
Our local law is the front part of that, if I'm not mistaken, the front part, but I'll get it, I'll
On the
look at it.
disclosure forms,
it's about that.
our local law is right in front of it.
Yeah, I think so.
It's on page
Are there
181
terms-
of the town.
are there terms
Yeah,
staggered?
but that is it's the local law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are their terms staggered, or are they, I mean, Do you know when
Staggered
the terms
terms.
end?
Yes.
Yes, it's in, every year at the organizational meeting, we set the
Okay.
terms and the people.
Okay.
That's done at the organizational meeting.
Okay.
Any other business? Anything else from the council? I had added in a public comment session.
I'd like to know if there's ever been an examination of this building to determine just how much mold and asbestos there is in it. Whether it's safe for any of us to be in this building.
I didn't hear what you said. Has there not?
I'd like to know whether there's ever been an examination of this building to determine just how much mold and asbestos is in it. To determine whether it's safe for any of us to be in here. They talked about it, but I've never heard that it ever got done, and it should.
They'll tell you that asbestos-wise, unless it's disturbed, they don't test it.
I've heard that one.
Yeah.
What about mold? We
You-
got it all over the
that
place.
OSHA could come in and do a air quality
Well,
test, and any employee has the right, or any member of the public has a right to request that through OSHA.
OSHA can come in
Someone
and
from
check
the
it.
public can request it?
Yeah.
well, I'll request it then.
Maybe two,
Occupational
three of us
Safety and
are.
Health Administration.
The more people that request it, the more likely they'll get here.
Anything else, Skip?
No,
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Okay, Paul Spencer. Legs are kind of tired today. I'm a dairy farmer, retired Palatine Bridge. Several things came up tonight, and believe me, I'm in sympathy with some of the things that were brought up tonight. Number one, I'm going to start off with the records business. Linda, nobody's blaming you. Or do you think they are?
I
I'm
care
not-
to differ.
Well, I'm not blaming you.
I care to differ.
Okay.
It's been
Other
put
people-
out in cyberspace about
Okay,
it.
but we'll leave it at that. I'm not blaming you. 'Cause
I know you don't personally blame
Okay.
me.
My point is, 6 or 7 years ago, I brought up the issue, when you brought the issue up of the record storage, I brought up the possibility, temporarily, until we do something different with whatever we do, to look into buying a storage shed. Having it totally insulated, totally made of wood. We do not have a condensation problem with a wood structure. This is only temporary. You can buy these things fairly reasonable, and if you're done using it, you can put it on the curb with a for sale sign like Mr. Logan does with his dump trucks. Nobody listened to me, we're still complaining. And the other thing I would do, if you did buy one of these storage sheds, put some damn shelves in it.
Put some what?
Put some shelves in it.
You know,
And then-
Paul, to
and
be honest
thirdly-
with you,
and thirdly-
I've never heard you say that because I probably would have agreed with you years ago on that.
I brought that up, 2 or 3 times, I've got records home.
I
keep my
didn't hear
notes.
you, I don't hear well, but if I
Well,
would have
I
heard
do
you, I
now.
would have suggested
I bought
you
these
do
things.
just that.
The other thing, and you know where I'm going with this one, I don't care what you do with the record room, don't store them on there.
It's not there.
Okay, it was.
It hasn't been. It
Okay.
hasn't been in a long time.
Okay,
What
but it
was
was.
I didn't hear what
The
he said.
lawnmower was in there.
Lawn, no.
It hasn't been there in a long
But you
time.
will agree that it was for a period of time.
It was
Okay.
there for a short period of time, but it was taken out and nobody's ever bothered to ask me if it was still there.
Along with the gas.
That's where.
How
I
long was
want-
it there?
No,
Maybe
along with the gas too.
along with the gas too, yeah. it
And
was.
yes,
Yeah, I'll
okay.
admit it.
I don't want to dwell on this too long. The court, we've had this discussion, we've had this discussion. In fact, I took the time to draw up some sketches, no architectural design, draw some sketches, what you can do with this building by removing that partition, which I would practice, that's a ranch, it's not asbestos, and open this room totally for the court and meeting room. I can name you at least a half a dozen townships that I've been visited where the court and the meeting room is the same room.
You're still not gonna be up to code though with the state on it.
You don't know that, Betty.
That's what Ron Morrison and Ronnie Dyer said. You have to have a certain size courtroom, you have to have a holding
How
room.
big do you have to
have a
have?
holding room for
Betty,
the
hold on just a
the
minute.
inmates,
Let me,
the DA.
I don't want
This
this to be
is
the-
public comment,
Right?
it's just.
all right, let me finish and then you talk.
I'm just trying to explain it.
Yeah, The point being, the architectural design of the building that you want to put in Saudi Arabia holds no more people in this building will once you take that partition out. Period, end of quote. Leave that alone. As far as the roof leaking, in that sketch that I had, a very economical pitch roof that was put on this building. It wouldn't have cost a lot of money, and would have stopped the roof leaking. Insulation would have been put back in the roof where it should have been. Very little cost to stop the pipes from freezing. Simple, easy, very low cost. Lastly, Mr. Dahl with his flag issue. I remember not too long ago, I donated a flag to the highway garage because the flag that was hanging there was hanging on one snap and was ripped to shreds. If it's a flag issue, whose responsibility is? To me, it's the responsibility of the people who work in the place to say, oh geez, the flag is ripped. Maybe we better buy one. I donated one to the town for that. So let's look at what we're doing rather than what we want to do. And
Yeah,
Betty,
1
you
minute.
look over the sketch that you've got my sketch, I know you do. And if you look, the square footage per person seated is the same in that new building at over $400,000, which you would do this one for considerably. We aren't even in the same ballpark. I'll leave you with that thought. It's something that can be done. The safety of the building, there's 3 doors in this room. There's 3 exit doors in this room. There's one there, and there's one in Leon's office.
We had 3 other estimates for this building, and it was more than what,
I know. Who estimated
It would
it
cost
for
to
you?
build a new
The
one.
architect that was designing.
no,
it?
we had a Mr. Cooper when Bill Heiser was supervisor. We had Jeff Phillips when Brian Sweet was supervisor.
Does
And
Jeff Phillips tell you anything? What did Jeff Phillips tell you with your town hall up in Saudi Arabia? You blanked it. He was outrageously high. It was totally ridiculous.
that's why we didn't go with them, right?
That's why we're here where we are today.
It's 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't want to take over my time, but
Mr. Miglam.
Thank you. At the workshop meeting that occurred on Monday, Attorney Subic referenced that Dominic Stagliano was volunteering his time as clerk of the works informally. I was wondering whether or not, since he wasn't clerk of the works, and I guess that would have violated Judge Seise's orders, whether or not that decisions made during that period were covered under any town insurance policies, any design considerations contributed by Dominic Stagliano, whether he had personal liability before he volunteered his time, and whether the building committee had any position on inputs from a citizen volunteer to the building process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Earl.
I want to address Skip's concern about the mold. You can go into virtually any hardware store, get a mold testing kit for probably, I think they're around $25. You run the sample, you run as many as you want, for each kit, and you send them in, and the company will send back a report. A heck of a lot cheaper than you could have a so-called consultant come in here and basically do the same thing.
Or OSHA can,
I'm sorry?
or OSHA, we can request OSHA to do it.
You can I'm sorry, I'm
We
not-
can
OSHA.
request OSHA to do it at no
Oh,
price.
yeah, if you want to create a lot of problems for yourself, you already
We've got a
know
lot
that.
of problems. I think OSHA would be a good one to step in at this point.
Be careful what you wish for.
And Skip, if the asbestos, as far as that goes, if we wanted asbestos tested, the county does do that.
I know they do.
They would come up and take the samples. We would have to pay for them to be sent away.
Find out how
About
much it would cost.
$300 per sample.
It's better than ending up getting
Yeah.
poison from that stuff.
And any other comments?
I'm glad to see that the council is going to address the Board of Ethics. The chairman of the Board of Ethics, Doug, does not even know that he's on the Board of Ethics Committee, nor no knowledge of it at all. I would suggest that the board have staggering terms, that the letters that are sent to them be registered for the first time to announce whether or not they're willing to take this on. If they want to be reelected or reappointed or whatever, maybe you need a whole new board. I don't know. But certainly to have a chairman of a board who doesn't even know he's on the board, I think it's disgusting. So I don't know where he got lost, but he got lost. So I'm glad to see that the board is taking action on that. And I think it should be staggered terms. And also, I think it would be nice if they had an alternate on it. And I think they should also be given a list of when all our meetings are. Now, we all have to sign a paper, the Board of Ethics paper. I don't know how many of you have done that.
But every year,
Every year, it's supposed to be done in January.
Yep.
So if you haven't signed it, I would suggest that you get on track for 2016. And that means that when you're signing that, you're putting not your own personal agenda on it. You're putting on that you will agree to try to do what's best for the town, not push through your own agenda.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Ed Whiteman. One thing I gotta ask is that supervisor, when you vote, it's very hard to tell whether you're voting yes or no or abstaining. I'd like you to speak up a little bit more when you're voting, if that's not too much of an issue. Because it's very hard to tell whether what you're voting for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just that you got such a low voice sometimes. The second thing I want to say is that we talked about taking this wall down here, and we don't know what asbestos may or may not be in there. And anytime you disturb a wall, there could be asbestos involved into it, and then you're going to get into a real problem with asbestos. I know the schools had that problem. They took renovating parts of the school. They didn't think there was asbestos in the schools. They started taking the walls apart, and they had to stop. And then they had to have an asbestos team come in and shut the whole place down that was affected in that area. So I'm saying that if you take these walls down, there could be asbestos. We don't know that. We don't know if there's asbestos in it. But anytime you do any kind of construction or management or anything like that, turn walls down, there could be possible asbestos. And I don't think that's very wise in that point. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. Any other comments? Jim?
One. Back a month or so ago, I remember the town board having a meeting to amend local law for site plan review, putting yourselves in charge of your own site plan review. During that meeting, I believe you stated that it was contingent on county planning board recommendation. During the same meeting, I also remember you stating that you would give the clerk permission to advertise for bids pending the review. At this time, I don't believe the county has done a review for that amendment to local law. And I believe you also asked to have yourself put on for site plan, which you have to get county approval for, which you have not gotten. You can't ask for bids, and now you just made a motion recommendation to do it again. And you don't have county approval.
Jim, I can't hear you, and I'm sure I can't pick you up on the recorder.
Start over now that I'm on confused.
Well, I got,
A month or so ago, when you guys amended the law for putting yourself in charge of site plan, it was contingent on county planning approval. They haven't had a meeting yet for approval. You made it also known at the meeting that you would not put out for bids, a rebid for that until you got that approval.
It's not what it says. That's not what the resolution says. It says
That's
the
what
bidding
you-
could commence upon submission to the county planning department. That's happened already. The submission has gone in. That was the contingency for the setting of the bids. And I don't think it's wise for the board to be discussing in open session. Mr. Telfer is now a participant on the other side of the lawsuit.
I am not.
Yeah, he is.
No, I'm
Because
not.
you submitted an affidavit in support of the lawsuit. So you are a participant on the other side of the lawsuit, sir,
I am
with all
not.
due respect. And so therefore, I don't think that your position and the board's position are now consistent in any way. And I would advise them not to talk to you about this in open session in this forum. I don't think it's wise for us to be doing that. So you have your opinion, you have every right to state it at this meeting, but we're not going to engage in a colloquy with you at this time about those matters.
I was just simply asking a
Well,
question by
and
what
that's
was
fine.
done
You
in
duly
previous
noted.
meetings
Duly
with
noted.
minutes.
Duly
to
noted.
prove it.
Thank you for your comment.
We haven't seen the lawsuit, so we don't know what's in it, so.
Well, he's a participant in it. He submitted an
And
affidavit in support of
I
the,
signed an affidavit
in
referring
support
to
of the
information
litigation
that I
and the
had.
relief that it seeks. So yes, you are a participant in that litigation. You can call it
For
whatever
the
you want to.
record,
Sure.
I did see the affidavit,
Sure.
and in no way does it support the litigation or the claim for relief.
Oh, it most certainly does.
It does
It
not.
only states
Information
information
that I was asked for, that I could give and you could give and anyone else could give regarding any of it.
All right. Well, you've made your position clear. Thank
I
you.
did.
Any other comments?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
That's fine,
I heard that loud and clear.
yeah.